Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. A quick announcement. I was talking about maybe doing a replacement kitchen table talk this week, but I've had just life blow up. And so I've got lots of commitments, life commitments and other things that I can't avoid. And I don't think I'll have time to do it. So apologies, everyone. We're going to have to wait until Sunday, but I think Sunday will be no problem. I think. Fingers crossed. I'll do my best. Rigged elections with an online portal in California. So there are police officers talking about how elections are being rigged by Gavin Newsom, and that's interesting. I feel like when people are talking about how elections are rigged, these are things that are so open. If law enforcement's talking about it, it's something that criminals have had their hands on for a while. People who with bad intentions have had their hands on for a while. It's not new. We're the last to know. Everybody knew about this stuff, was using this stuff against us. And I feel like if it's happening in California, it's probably happening in more states and probably happening in Canada too. And so it's one of those things where I look at this and I think it is emblematic of what's happening more broadly. Okay, it's not just happening in California. It's not one of those things where you go, phew, good thing I don't live in California, eh, those suckers. It's happening everywhere, right? Food bank usage is being normalized. Communism. This is communism. This is getting people to rely on a lower standard, getting people to rely on, quote, free food handed out by the government in more and more numbers as they get more and more desperate. And this is just a switchover. And where does it end? Venezuela. Venezuela is where it ends. Criminality, people pretending that they have some kind of mandate to govern, mandate to lead, while their citizens languish in squalor. And that's not acceptable. And we shouldn't accept that here, but we're being trained to, and that's not great. Trump can end wars. We're going to start with the trade because the trade issue is the biggest deal. Mark Carney talking about New World Order every chance he can get, or every chance he can, is interesting. And we'll look at that to start, but we're going to examine the trade deal that has fallen apart between Canada and the United States. And it bothers me because Trump can negotiate wars to be ended. Trump can negotiate with people who hate each other. And he doesn't seem to be able to get a trade deal with Canada. And I blame Mark Carney because it doesn't seem like Mark Carney wants a trade deal. Mark Carney's saying the relationship with the United States is over, right? Like what? Because he's got a trade deal with Japan? Because he's got a trade deal with some other countries? Like, stop being a baby about it and do your damn job. And it's very, very strange that Trump can negotiate with all of these other places, but he can't negotiate with Canada. We're supposed to be allies, and we're not acting like it. Canadians aren't acting like it. Like, our leadership is not acting like it. Since Chrystia Freeland wore the mama is not equal to chopped liver or whatever it was, chopped something or other. Remember that T-shirt when she was negotiating the USMCA and Trump basically said, send anybody but Chrystia Freeland, please. Like, we can't stand that woman. And Trudeau sent Chrystia Freeland leading the negotiation team. So Trump remembers that kind of stuff. And we're paying the price now, unfortunately, because of their stupidity. Unprecedented capital fleeing in Canada. Theft I've got written here, but that's not the right word. People are leaving Canada. They're just going somewhere else because the business case doesn't make any sense here. And C2 is still being pushed to ban large cash transactions. So there's a whole lot to get to. Let's get to it. First, we've got to start with Mark Carney talking about the new world order that has yet to emerge. And Brett says, I'm going to show this clip later in the show as well, just to set the stage for a couple of stories later. But Brett says the New World Order is just a conspiracy theory, guys. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney to the Association of Southeast Asian Nations in Malaysia. The old world order is disappearing and a new one has yet to emerge. Now, I want to explain what I think a world order is. A world order is the puppeteers having a group of people who are under their control. That's a world order. We all agree that we're going to listen to whoever that guy is. Wilhelm, I think, was at the beginning of the world order, and the world was Europe, and he seeded all of the leadership of Europe with cousins. They were all interrelated, right? So everybody, the king of England, the king of Germany, the king of France, all of these people were interrelated, and Wilhelm kind of ruled it with an iron fist. And then he died in the late 1800s, early 1900s at that point in time. And that was the end of an old world order and the beginning of a new world order. And that led to 2 world wars, right? And the world order is established by having control of the leadership of these countries in order to drive things in the direction that you want to drive them in. And citizens being in charge is not a world order. That's not what world order is. A world order is a tangible thing. These people are talking about it in the open, and most people just ignore it because they think, oh, that's political rhetoric. This is signaling. This is like a mafia talking openly at press conferences to their mafioso insiders who know the code. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Right? Like that's what's happening here. But like, I know the code. I know what they're talking about. I can see it. And so here's Mark Carney saying an old world order is done-ish, and a new one has yet to emerge, right? And so do you think that's true? I think they're trying to establish one, but it requires the digital technocracy. The world order they want to establish is a digital technocracy, and that will carry them the next 50, 100 years or whatever, maybe more. And that's what I think their goal is, and I think that's not necessarily exactly what they're saying here, but I think that's fundamentally what they're trying to bring forward. I think the same thing was true about Build Back Better. They were trying to bring forth the same construction of a world order. So now I do also think that they have control of all of the world leaders at this point in time, except for maybe Donald Trump. Maybe. I think he works for a different group. It's hard to believe that he works for himself, but different group probably. Anyway, here's Mark Carney, World Order.
To finish, to quote our host, Prime Minister Ibrahim, the old world order is disappearing and a new one has yet to emerge. Times like this, it's time to be bold, because how we respond will shape Canada's path for decades to come. By making generational investments at home and by building deeper partnerships abroad, we will build Canada strong.
I really thought he was going to say Build Back Better there.
With that, I'd be happy to take your question.
Honestly, I thought he was going to be all in with the whole globalist rhetoric. Here's Ryan. He says, there's a thing called duper's delight where someone has visible enjoyment when they're about to lie. Carney does this endlessly with smiles and smirks before he answers a question. He won't answer what the contingency plan is because he doesn't have one. So the question is, do you have a contingent? Well, the whole setup of this is hilarious. Donald Trump doesn't want to talk to you at all, doesn't want to meet you, sir. And do you have a contingency plan? And his response about the contingency plan is way too flippant to be taken seriously. I don't believe that he has a contingency plan because the way he said it it doesn't sound convincing. Here's Carney. What do you think? Here we go.
Donald Trump says he doesn't want to see you at all at APEC. Has the Canadian government given any consideration to the possibility that he doesn't want to negotiate? And do you have a contingency plan for that?
We have yes. The short answer is yes.
We've got binders full of women. I mean, contingency plans. We've got so many contingency plans. We can't tell you them. We can't tell you what they are, but they exist. We have them.
To your follow-up, no, I'm not about to detail those contingency plans. But I will go to the big, obvious plan that is there in plain sight and will be further detailed in the budget.
The plan in plain sight is that the APEC thing in Southeast Asia, and the big plan is we're trading with Asia. Right? Everybody, okay, let's go to an election. Everybody loves this idea. Everybody hates the United States. We're trading with Asia. Everybody loves Xi. Where's the commercial that says, hey, communism killed more people in history than anything at all. Maybe we shouldn't deal with communists at all. Maybe we should rethink this whole structure that we take for granted right now. What? Like, we can't have Reagan-esque free trade. The United States is dead to us. Let's rejig our entire economy. This is the obvious plan, I think, that he's talking about. Sorry, I've got to back this up. I'll just back this up a minute.
But I will go to the big, obvious plan that is there in plain sight and will be further detailed in the budget on November 4th. And we have been saying this for months. I said this before I was elected. Emphasize the importance of us giving ourselves far more than any foreign government could take away, whatever the trading environment. And that's to build at home and to build strong at home. And we intend to unleash hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars of investment right here at home. Well, not right here, but metaphorically there at home in Canada while we're building these partnerships.
Hundreds of billions of dollars of investment. So is he saying he's going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars in Canada? Because I hesitate to believe that. I don't think that's likely to happen. And if it does happen, I don't think that it's likely to yield hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue. Like if you spend $10,000, you want to make $100,000, right? If you spend $1,000, you want to make $100,000. That would be ideal. If you spend $100, you want to make $100,000, right? So you want your investment to be as small as possible, to have a yield, a return of as big as possible. And sometimes you got to balance it, right? If you spend $500, maybe your return is $10,000. But if you spend $5,000, maybe the yield goes up and you hit some kind of magic thing. You hit just enough customers and like, boom, it really rises. And so if you spend 5,000, maybe you get $1 billion back and you're like, wow, we got to spend another $5,000. Like if another 5,000 is another billion, we got to do this. But if you're spending hundreds of billions of dollars in investment, what do you expect the return to be? Hundreds of billions of dollars in investment? We're not socialists. How long can you spend hundreds of billions of dollars in investment, right? Like I'm gonna invest all my money in whatever it is right now, and now tomorrow we're gonna invest more money in something or other else. We don't have any money left. Like if the investment's good, get your money in, but you can't just continually talk about investment. They haven't done anything in the last 6 months either. They say, oh, we've laid it out during the election, which was in April, right? 6 months ago, wasn't it? And so you laid it out during the election. You didn't do anything. You still haven't done anything. You haven't got a trade deal. You've alienated our biggest trading partner. You've said that the relationship we have with our biggest trading partner is over. You don't speak for me. Like, what? This guy is insane. And I don't know how he can be in charge of anything at this point in time. Poilievre says, I know that he's the leader of the Liberal Party and that makes him prime minister, but he's not accomplished anything. He keeps going back to this well of Warren rhetoric that he's not delivered on. And he keeps saying, oh yeah, well, it's definitely going to happen. We're going to do it. I doubt it. I doubt it at this point. Pierre Poilievre is responding to this. Toronto Sun is reporting capital flight. That was the word I was looking for. Signals no confidence in Carney's agenda. Yeah, people aren't going to invest in Canada because they can't get anything built. It's inconsistent. Families are thinking of leaving. Businesses don't want to build here. Are you kidding me? Pierre Poilievre says, managing director at National Bank, says the amount of money fleeing Canada under Mark Carney is unprecedented. The Prime Minister promised change, but what he's delivered is jobs, mines, and factories to the United States. Sign, blah, blah, blah. Don't sign petitions. It's just a license for them to send you fundraising dollars. Here is Doug Ford. And I said that there's no way Mark Carney didn't see these ads before they went live. It's not Doug Ford necessarily who did this, but I mean, Doug Ford is the scapegoat. So he's under the hot lights. And CBC Watcher says, Doug Ford says Carney and his chief of staff saw the Ronald Reagan ad before it aired in the U.S. Yeah, guys, I got the green light. Everybody loved the ad.
Talk to the Prime Minister about this and what's. I mean, he was pretty measured in Malaysia today.
Sure.
About you and about this situation. But how are relations with the Prime Minister? Are things strained now because of what's happened?
Not at all. He saw the ad before I put it out. So did his chief of staff. They both saw it, and we moved forward on it. But again, we achieved our goal. As we say, mission accomplished. It was done. They're talking about it in the U.S., and they weren't talking about it before I put the ad on. So I'm glad that Ronald Reagan was a free trade.
Talk to the Prime Minister.
And then misrepresenting Reagan after everything that's happened, still misrepresenting Reagan. Do you think he doesn't know, or do you think he knows that he's lying and just continues to lie? Here is Juno News. When asked what the cause of the U.S. trade talks breaking off between the United States and Canada, Mark Carney points the finger at Doug Ford's TV ads, but he says you should ask Donald Trump why things are so chill, which is weird because he doesn't take any responsibility for himself. Here we go.
President Trump says he's canceled these trade talks because he's upset about the Ontario government ad. We've heard from the Business Council of Canada and even some of President Trump's own advisors who suggest the frustration with Canada runs deeper. So is this about the ads or is this about something else?
I would suggest you take the president at his word for his reasons.
Was a free trader.
The Prime Minister was explicit today in saying that it was the ad that derailed negotiations which were moving ahead. With that in mind, why don't you feel you owe Ontarians an apology?
For sticking up for Ontarians, well, let's talk about a so-called imminent deal. I've been hearing this for month after month after month, and if there was no mention about auto.
How are relations with the Prime Minister? Are things?
So we've heard that part. Imminent deal. I've got Lisa Raitt talking about the imminent deal in just a minute. You know what? I've got to bump it up now. Here's Lisa Raitt kind of giving us an idea of what the imminent deal is. First, here's Doug Ford's chief of staff talking about how tightly connected Carney, Ford, so the federal and the provincial government were on the ad here. Here we go.
Ads fall under your ministry. With that government ad that has led to headlines around the world, did you keep the federal government in the loop before going ahead with that ad?
Oh, sure. There's lots of conversations between the Prime Minister and Premier Ford. They have a great relationship. As you heard last Thursday, the Premier reiterate that Premier Ford has 100% confidence in Prime Minister Carney. We're in this together.
We're in this together. Screw the citizens of Canada. We don't need a trade deal. We need to poke Donald Trump in the eye. Here is Lisa Raitt kind of laying out what Doug Ford was talking about with a deal on the table, and it never got done, and we don't know anything about it because lack of transparency and lack of accountability. But I find this interesting, and here's this back and forth on power play with Vasi Kapoulis, and Lisa Raitt really mic drop, says Mark Nixon. Here we go.
Do you think, Lisa, that, I mean, I don't know how we know for sure, but do you have an instinct as to whether this is about irritants like the ad, like the Stellantis and GM remission changes, or whether it's a negotiating tactic that Trump has been known to use in negotiations before, just kind of like a last-minute exit until he's ready to come back?
I think your last clip from Ambassador Hoekstra told us everything we need to know. There was a deal on the table. The Canadians did not accept it. Mr. Trump did not like that, and he warned Canadians that if you didn't take the deal as presented, you would go back to the end of the line of 94 other countries who are trying to do deals with the United States right now. And he went through with his word. I think the Prime Minister is fortunate that Doug Ford has been seized upon to be the excuse for why Mr. Trump did this, but he didn't cause it at all. What I would like to hear from the Prime Minister is, well, what was in the deal? What was in the deal that you rejected? Why did you reject it? What's our plan going forward? How much is it going to cost us in the short term? How much is it going to cost us in the long term? I can't really fault Premier Eby or Premier Ford for fighting, because there are two really big things not included in that deal: autos and forestry. So where are those? I mean, I was really hoping that that speech last Tuesday was going to lay out some of these things. We've been hearing about the rumor of a deal being imminent for many, many, many days. The Americans were talking about it, and we didn't sign off. Why? I'm sure it's good reasons, but we deserve an explanation.
I wonder why everybody's sure it's good reasons. After everything that's happened, after COVID, I'm sure it's not good reasons. I'm sure that there's some kind of underhanded shenanigans going on, and I'm sick and tired of it personally. Here's Melissa. She says, Carney takes zero accountability. This is the clip I wanted to show you. This is zero accountability for the ruined relationship between Canada and the United States. It's not my fault, says Carney. Ask Trump.
With Canada, and how did your relationship with Donald Trump go south so fast?
That's a question for him.
Next question. Yasmin?
Yasmin Mehdi avec Radio-Canada.
With Canada?
That's a question for him. Next question. Thank you. We're not going to talk about that. A little while ago, Carney knew how to deal with Trump. This is how you deal with Trump. You have strength, right? That was not a very strong answer, if you ask me.
No, like what our strategy with Trump, and I've dealt with Trump in the past. He respects strength. He respects strength. Like a lot of bullies, he respects strength, and that's part of the reason. Look, we got to build here for ourselves, but it's also to show him that we are masters in our own home. Right? We're in charge. No, like what our strategy with Trump, and I've dealt with Trump in the past.
We are masters of our own. Is this a Seinfeld episode? Are you kidding me? Here is Trump talking about Canada and the trade deal. And remember, Lisa Raitt is offering some kind of insight. I'm sure she's got some back channels that she's got some insight that I don't have. And she's saying that there was a deal on the table. Trump wanted it signed. There's no autos, no forestry that she'd heard of. What's the details of that deal that Canada said no to? And now we're at the back of the line. That's information that I don't think anybody's had before. Here's Trump on this.
This is an ad. That was an ad run by a provincial government in Canada. Why are you mad at the federal government?
Because whether it's provincial or Canada itself, they all knew exactly what the ad was. The Prime Minister knew, everybody knew. The Prime Minister knew what the ad was before it went on.
Will you see him in APEC? Do you want to meet with him?
I don't want to meet with him. No, I'm not going to be meeting with him for a while. No, I'm very happy with the deal we have right now with Canada. We're going to let it ride.
Well, we have Secretary Beckett here. Can you ask about the Fed search as well? Where are you? This is an ad.
So everybody knew. They all knew. And Trump knew that they knew. That's interesting. That's interesting. Man, I'm only halfway through the trade stuff. This guy, Carney is making, Real Mr. Bench says, Carney is making decisions for Canada that will financially benefit Brookfield, but we've been told that the Ethics Commissioner Von Finkelstein sees no conflicts. Why the rules are written very broadly so as not to apply when in fact they should. Listen to Duff Konachar, co-founder of the Citizen